another exciting episode of Pleasure Principles. I'm your host Avik, and today we have a truly inspiring guest with us, Anastasia Gerali. So, welcome to the show, Anastasia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely, lovely. So, Anastasia, before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Anastasia is the creator of alignment therapy, a groundbreaking method that integrates somatic and emotional healing, psychospiritual alignment, and brain repattering. So, her mission is to impact the lives of 1 million women, sparking a ripple of healing and abundance across the families and the communities worldwide. So her journey is one of the transformation and resilience, making her a powerful guest for our show. Yeah. So today we are having, rather I'd say we'll be diving deep into the fascinating topic of how our subconscious mind and uh, seeks pleasure and avoids pain. And we'll also explore the intricacies of this concept, like how it shapes our behaviors, decisions, and the overall well being. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an engaging and thought provoking conversation. So, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this topic because the principles of pleasure are the fundamentals of life, really.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, so your work with the alignment therapy is truly transformative. Like, if you can explain how the subconscious mind's tendency uh, to seek pleasure and avoid the pain influences our daily lives.
Yes, absolutely. So the subconscious mind is a programmable machine, and it has been programmed to
Yeah.
seek pleasure and avoid pain. However, people think that this means that it's always supportively programmed, and that is false because sometimes the pleasure that we're seeking is merely to avoid the discomfort or the pain of doing something. So that keeps us within our comfort zone. And if your comfort zone is very small, then there's not really much pleasure to be had in there besides just avoiding pain. So, for example, maybe you're avoiding a breakup because you're avoiding what will ultimately follow the breakup, which is heartbreak and grief and, the discomforts of dealing with that rather than leaving an unhappy or an unaligned relationship. So basically, what your subconscious mind has done there, it has chosen the preferred discomfort, if you will, versus the unknown, which is what happens outside of this relationship. Will I meet someone again? Will it be better? Will it be worse? So they'd rather choose to stay stuck in a relationship that isn't necessarily a joyful one or isn't necessarily the most aligned one, just because by comparison to the unknown,
Yeah.
this is equal to pleasure.
Exactly. And that's very true. That's very true one. Yeah. And then same thing. How we can become more aware of these subconscious patterns and start to shift them, if you can share.
Well, it's exactly the word that you use,
Mm,
patterns. What
mm,
patterns do I find myself repeating
yeah,
in my finances, in my professional relationships, in my personal relationships, in my romantic relationship? Whatever pattern I keep repeating, that shows me that I have a program there or a preference, an unconscious bias or unconscious preference there.
mm,
And if I'm not happy with the patterns that I'm repeating, then then I need to address the program. I need to upgrade the program. If, however, I'm happy with the patterns that I'm repeating and I'm receiving the reward, I'm receiving the pleasure, I'm receiving the experiences that I want,
yeah.
then you have a great pattern.
Mm, exactly. So, I mean, I have to say that it's really fascinating how much of our behavior is driven by these underlying mechanisms. And uh, I think many listeners will resonate with the idea that um, our subconscious mind is constantly steering us towards comfort and away from discomfort. Yeah. So, in your experience, uh, what are some of the common ways that people unknowingly sabotage their own happiness due to the subconscious mind's avoidance of pain?
Yeah. I think one of the most obvious ones that people do know is procrastination. When they are procrastinating on doing the things that they need to do in order to get the things that they want to have.
Mm,
That's a very obvious pattern right there.
mm,
And procrastination is really the same as perfectionism. We are delaying our receiving whatever goal we are trying to align ourselves with because
mm,
there's an unconscious desire. So I talk about unconscious desires versus conscious desires. There's an unconscious desire to be without something. So you'll find that many goal orientated people are constantly chasing the next goal. So even when they do receive something, they don't really allow themselves to fully have it or fully trust it. So they immediately go on to the next goal. This is very true for, more entrepreneurial people that their goals seem to be linked to financial growth.
yes.
Um, and then in interpersonal relationships, I think men could probably agree that women seem to be a lot better at doing this, where they always want the
Mm,
next thing. In the beginning, it's they just want to have the relationship. Once they have the relationship, they want to have the marriage. Once they have the marriage, they want to have the child. Once they have the child, there's another thing that they want, right?
yeah.
There's this constant chasing, uh, chasing a moving goalpost rather than allowing yourself to sit with and be with whatever you've currently manifested. However comfortable or uncomfortable it is, because maybe what you're manifesting is your unconscious desires, and you don't want to be here. You don't want to be in the lack, in the scarcity. It's evidence that you're not having fun. It's evidence that you're not lovable. It's evidence that this is not a pleasurable experience. Or even if you do have all those wonderful things that you've always wanted, you're still focused on the next thing.
True.
S That for sure is procrastination and perfectionism are two ways in which we self-sabotage our ability to really tap into pure life force energy, which is pleasure.
Mm, exactly. Exactly. So what are the steps can individuals take to break free from these self-sabotaging patterns? I mean, if you can share.
I think definitely being self-aware enough to recognize your pattern, whatever that may be. And then there are so many different tools that you can use to bring more self-awareness to it. And then you can apply willpower. Willpower is a temporary fix because obviously when you stop efforting, when you stop willpowering, you will revert back to your default setting or your default pattern. My suggest really, if you want to complete this journey and you want to completely upgrade your patterns, is to work with a professional to
Mm,
hold you accountable and to give you the tools that you will need in the beginning to cultivate and master so that you can upgrade your patterns and upgrade your reality. Because once you've upgraded, there really is no going back. You can't backslide. But if you're temporarily moving the needle, as soon as you stop putting in that manpower, you will revert back to your default unconscious programs.
mm, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, it's really an eye opening to realize how often we might be standing in our own way uh, without even knowing it. So, definitely your insights on this could really help listeners identify and overcome these barriers. So,
Yeah.
and also, like, how does your alignment therapy approach helps individuals reprogram their subconscious mind to seek the healthier forms of pleasure and effectively manage pain.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Mhm.
So, alignment therapy really works in two ways, both of which are absolutely phenomenal. The first session is a form of hypnotherapy, which
Okay.
helps us to work um, on the mental and the emotional body. Once we work through the subconscious mind, we're able to identify the root cause of any pattern. What function it currently serves in your life, and then upgrade it.
Mhm.
And then the second part of the therapy session is hypno breath work. So neurodynamic breath work has been shown to phenomenally improve the somatic body, so the physical body and the energetic body. So this way, in alignment therapy, we're really working on four levels. We're working on the mental and the emotional upgrades, as well as the physical and the energetic alignment with the results that we want to create for ourselves. So, by completing that healing journey, we're able to now access higher states of consciousness and therefore create better outcomes for ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's lovely. And any success story you can share where someone experienced a significant shift through their therapy?
Gosh, so many. I think um, most definitely there have been incredible women that I've helped completely upgrade their professional life. So, women that were very goal orientated, that were able to go after the types of careers, whether that meant leaving corporate and starting their own business, or completely pivoting and retraining as something else. Those stories I'm always very, very proud of. But in terms of personal upgrades, there have been women that have been stuck in unhappy, unaligned relationships for years, or maybe have been single for years. And simply by allowing themselves to receive this type of support, they were able to upgrade their relationship dynamics and align with the type of love and relationship that they truly, truly do desire, so that they weren't unconsciously attracting or perpetuating a relationship dynamic that wasn't aligned. And then finally receiving the type of love that they were capable of, and receiving or creating, if they were in a relationship, creating the type of relationship that they truly desired and were were more aligned with. So it's also been a great way as well to help people with psychosomatic symptoms. I've helped people heal from years of chronic fatigue and vertigo, um, and unconscious behaviors such as emotional eating or smoking or neglecting themselves. It's really one of those types of therapy that you can apply to any part of your life, because I believe that every part of your physical, your metaphysical life is connected to your subconscious programming.
Mm, exactly. I mean, really hearing real life examples of transformation can be incredibly motivating, I'd say. I mean, it shows that change is possible and that we have the power to reshape our subconscious mind. So that's really great. Uh, so, like the concept of pleasure and pain is often in a kind of binary way. So, do you think that there are nuances to this that we should be aware of?
Yes, absolutely. I
Mhm.
mean, pleasure and pain is really a very, very fine line between the two, because we could say that um, if pleasure is joy and pain is fear, they actually technically have the same symptoms. It's just our relationship to those symptoms that will completely alter our experience in those two states. When they asked Bruce Springsteen why he carries on performing at such an old age, um, he spoke about how much he loves being on stage and how much he loves the electricity that moves through his body when people are singing with him, when people are looking at him sing and perform. He loves that pleasurable experience. And when they asked Carly Simmons, who was a phenomenal singer but had a very short career, why she gave up performing and why she gave up the limelight, she said that every time that she stood on stage, she was absolutely terrified and her palms were sweating and she felt nervous at the spotlight on her and people looking at her. She felt her nerves literally uh, retract with fear. So those two people were actually having the same experience by being on stage, but their relationship to those symptoms was very different. And that's how it created two very different careers and two very different lives as a result of that.
Mm, got it. Lovely. So, okay. I mean, how can embracing these nuances lead to a more balanced and fulfilling life?
Definitely looking at and assessing what your relationship is with pleasure. Is it something that you do fully allow yourself to have? Is it something that you can you can have for long periods of time, or does pleasure leave your life and your body very quickly after you have that high? Because that would indicate if you have serotonin hormonal releases or dopamine hormonal releases. So again, your behaviors, your habits that will lead to that pleasure will determine the type of pleasure that you're having, and your relationship to it will determine your experiences. Um, I would definitely look at if I'm able to hold and sustain long term pleasure or if my pleasure is short lived, because then that has to do with my relationship and the habits and behaviors that will determine the hormonal releases that I'm having from pleasure.
Exactly. Great, lovely. I mean, it's really integrating that about pleasure and pain, not just as opposites, but as a part of a spectrum. I mean, yeah.
Mm.
So, what role does spirituality play in helping individuals align their subconscious mind with their conscious goals and the desires?
Well, we can't have a complete or a holistic life or experiences if we don't include spirituality. You know, just as much as psychology is a very important part of our growth and our self actualization, so is spirituality. Psychology without spirituality lacks real
Mm.
depth. And then spirituality without psychology lacks grounding. It's all very fluffy and it's all very avoidant of some uncomfortable truths that we need to face if we want to self actualize.
Ah, okay. Mhm. So, like, how can someone integrate spiritual practices into their daily routine to uh, support this alignment?
Having a relationship with a higher power, whether you call that
Mm.
God or universe or whatever terminology works for you, is definitely going to help you to feel less alone and much less isolated in this human experience, because there's a greater power that you can plug into and there's a greater power that you can access. And I would say meditation and prayer are two practices that are available to absolutely everybody and cost nothing. Meditation is when we listen to God, when we are downloading higher states of consciousness and higher guidance. And prayer is when we speak to. We speak to our truths, we speak to a higher power, we speak to God, and that becomes our dialogue practice.
Mm, got it. Understood. So, okay, and like any any advice or suggestions you'd like to share to the listeners?
Any advice?
Mhm.
My advice would be let yourself have permission to be happy. Let yourself have permission to fail, let yourself have permission to be curious. The more that you allow yourself these experiences, the more you will come closer to finding what your truth is and what your true potential is as well. The more that we control and we try to control our circumstances and we try to control ourselves and our outcomes, the less pleasure is available to us because it starts to become a very conditional form of pleasure that I will be only happy when I have this. And if you fall into that when then cycle, it's a very controlled and it's a very limited experience versus surprises. You know, you don't know what you don't know, and the universe has um, so much more to offer you than what your imagination has experienced and has seen.
Uh, hmm, got it. So it's a really, really great. Like, thank you so much, Anastasia, for sharing your profound insights and the experiences with us today. I mean, your work with alignment therapy is truly inspiring. And
Mm.
I'm sure that our listeners have gained valuable knowledge on how to better understand and harness the power of their subconscious minds. So, for everyone who is listening, remember that transformation is definitely possible and it starts with becoming aware of patterns that drive us. So, uh, take the first step towards aligning your subconscious mind with your conscious goals and the desires. And if you have enjoyed today's episode, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends, family, or someone who actually needs to hear this. And as always, stay tuned for more episodes of Pleasure Principles where we continue to explore the fascinating aspects of human behavior and psychology. So, with this hope, until next time, keep seeking pleasure and embracing the growth. Thank you so much.